DOLA Custom Prescription Education, Paw Position and MLA Fill. Behind the design, digital corrections. This section of the presentation will explore the paw position options and MLA fill. Behind the design, paw position. This section of the presentation will discuss pawing position options, including vertical, which is the most popular, inverted, and everted. Inverted and everted positions were more commonly used during traditional plaster manufacturing of foot orthotics. It is now achieved through other variables in the CAD/CAM process with the same outcome. Behind the design, vertical paw. This client needed a custom orthotic to provide basic support for a vertical or relatively neutral foot. They wanted to apply the majority of their support at the midfoot and just stabilise the rear foot without a dominant orthotic reaction force direction. The aim of this orthotic was to provide support through the midfoot. They used the DOLA Custom orthotic service. They selected the vertical paw position within digital corrections on the DOLA detailed prescription form. Key features of this selection include: it keeps the intrinsic heel shape equal, both medial and laterally, therefore it doesn't apply a dominant orthotic reaction force using the heel shape of the orthotic. It keeps the medial arch height as captured and the lateral arch height as captured. It also displays the forefoot-to-rearfoot relationship as captured in the cast or scan. Orthotip. Features of a vertical paw. It is by far the most popular paw position requested at our lab. It allows the application of prescription variables from a standardized position. You can then apply rear foot prescription with rear foot posts and heel skives. Apply midfoot prescription with arch fills, flares, flanges, contour, and high position. And apply forefoot prescription with forefoot to rear foot balancing or intrinsic forefoot posts. Behind the design, inverted paw. This client needed a custom orthotic to provide high medial orthotic reaction force applied at the rear foot, midfoot, and forefoot using intrinsic or in-shell variables. The aim of this orthotic was to provide high orthotic reaction force along the medial foot, as outlined in the Blake's inverted technique. They used the DOLA Custom orthotic service. They selected the inverted paw from the digital corrections section of the DOLA detailed prescription form. Key features of this selection include: it alters the heel shape to include an intrinsic varus or medial wedge. It increases the available medial arch height and increases the medial forefoot height. It lowers the lateral arch height. For more information, please refer to the readings of Blake. Orthotip. Features of an inverted paw can also be achieved by a variety of other prescription variables. They include a rear foot varus or medial post, minimum arch fill, and a medial arch pad. Behind the design, everted paw. This client needed a custom orthotic to provide high lateral orthotic reaction force applied at the rear foot, midfoot, and forefoot using intrinsic or in-shell variables. The aim of this orthotic was to provide a high orthotic reaction force along the lateral foot. They used the DOLA Custom orthotic service. They selected the everted paw from the digital corrections on the DOLA detailed prescription form. Key features of this selection include: it alters the heel shape to include an intrinsic valgus or lateral wedge. It increases the available lateral arch height. It increases the lateral forefoot height and lowers the medial arch height. Orthotip. Features of an everted paw can also be achieved by a number of other prescription variables, including a rear foot valgus or lateral post, an intrinsic lateral arch, a lateral arch pad, an intrinsic forefoot valgus post, or an extrinsic forefoot valgus extension. Behind the design, medial arch fill. This client needed a custom orthotic to provide support for the medial longitudinal arch. They recognised that their combination of intrinsic and extrinsic shell variables would influence the orthotic medial arch characteristics, including their selection of medial arch fill applied to the cast of the patient. The aim of this orthotic was to provide medial longitudinal arch support with a variety of prescription variables. They used the MLA fill section of the digital corrections section of the DOLA prescription form. The amount of fill prescribed is applied to the cast, foam impression, or scan of the patient's foot, and will influence the outcome of the orthotic design. The outcome is dependent on the arch height captured in the scan, or cast, or foam impression, the casting or scanning technique used, whether it's non-weight bearing, semi-weight bearing, or weight bearing. At DOLA Orthotics, we use set fill percentages for consistency of medial fill applied to the cast. Set fill percentages are applied to the cast, foam impression, or scan after balancing as prescribed. If no fill is selected, the orthotic shell will contour to the arch captured in the cast or scan with smoothing applied only. If very minimum is selected, 5% of the arch captured in the cast or scan is filled, so the device will be 95% of the arch captured. Minimum: 10% of the arch captured in the cast or scan is filled. The device will be 90% of the arch captured. Standard: 20% of the arch captured in the cast or scan is filled. The device will be 80% of the arch captured. Maximum: 30% of the arch captured in the cast or scan is filled, with the device being 70% of the arch captured. Very maximum: 50% of the arch captured in the cast or scan is filled. The device will be 50% of the arch captured. Please see the example maths for a 25 mm arch height. Orthotip. The overall medial arch height of the orthotic device will be influenced by many prescription variables, not just the arch fill. These include the cast, pour, or balance position. An inverted pour will increase the available medial arch height, while an everted pour will decrease the available medial arch height. Shell shape. A medial flange or medial flare will increase the arch height. A medial taper will decrease the arch height. Rearfoot post. A varus post will increase the medial arch height, while a valgus post will decrease the medial arch height. Forefoot post. A forefoot varus post will increase the medial arch height. Arch pad. The addition of an arch pad will increase the medial arch height. All prescription variables should be considered for the patient's arch height. Orthotip. If you are wanting a specific medial arch height, you can indicate this using the prescription form. Use the instructions section to indicate if the required arch height is after all other prescription variables are applied, or if the arch height is before all the other prescription variables are applied, and therefore won't be the resultant device height. For more information on DOLA Orthotics, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Access our DOLA Custom manual at dolaorthotics.com.